For the first time in more than 20 years, Wichita County voters will be selecting a new county judge in 2022. The two Republican candidates running in the March 1st primary are joining us in the KFDX studios tonight for their first televised debate. Now, here's moderator Daryl Franklin.
Welcome to the Republican primary debate for Wichita County Judge. I am Daryl Franklin. We're so glad you're here. We think we're going to have a good time over the next hour. Now, because of limited space out here in the studio, also because of COVID-19, we will not have a studio audience, but we do have our two candidates. We have Rick Hatcher and also Jim Johnson here in the studio with us. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Now, first, let's go ahead and take a look at the rules of this debate. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for opening statements. After that, the same question will be asked of both candidates. A bell will sound when time is up, and before that, they'll have a sign with 30 seconds left, 15 seconds left. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer the question, and if a candidate names the other candidate in his answer, the mentioned candidate will have 1 minute for a rebuttal. Then, at the end, each candidate will have 90 seconds for a closing statement. And whomever went first in the opening statement will go second in the closing statement. And just before we began here this evening, we had a coin toss, and Jim Johnson won the coin toss. So, Mr. Johnson, we will begin with you with your opening statement. You have the floor.
Okay. Well, Daryl, thank you, first of all, for moderating this debate, and to everyone at KFDX for agreeing to host it. Thank you to my opponent for being here and agreeing to do this. And thank you to all of you who are at home watching, who took it upon yourselves to get informed on a local election, an important one, and learn some about the candidates. So thank you. My name is Jim Johnson. I am the proud husband of Sarah Johnson, the proud father of Jacob Johnson, and the proud son of Mike and Sherry Johnson. I am a follower of Jesus Christ, and my faith, though I imperfectly practice it, informs everything that I do. I was born and raised here in Wichita Falls, 2001 graduate of Ryder High School. And I know some of you at home right now are doing the math in your head. I'm 38 years old. I don't look older than I am. I look wiser than my years. I left Wichita Falls to go to the University of Oklahoma and didn't think I'd be back. And I was wrong twice. The first time, I had to return home to get cancer treatment when I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma while at school. The second time was to follow a girl back here, who's Sarah, and now is my wife for 14 years. Since then, I've worked as the assistant manager at the MSU bookstore. I have been a constituent services person for Congressman Mac Thornberry's Wichita Falls office. And since 2013, I've been the chief of staff for State Representative James Frank here in Wichita Falls. I'm a common sense constitutional conservative. To me, that means I believe in limited government, where decisions are best made as local to the individual as possible. I'm a strong believer in true personal responsibility and individual accountability, and I think that we should have a government that is humble and mindful that it serves the people, not vice versa. I'm proud of my career in public service, and I believe that it is an honor and a privilege to work for the people. I'm looking forward to this debate and the chance to answer questions.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher, you have the floor.
Very good. Good evening, viewers. My name is Rick Hatcher, and I'm running for Wichita County Judge. Why? I am not a politician. I'm a 40-plus year successful business owner who understands that county business should be run like a business. If you own a business, you understand what it's like to meet a payroll, to stay on budget, and work tireless hours for your employees. I'm a born and raised Wichita County, compassionate, constitutional, conservative Republican. I'm pro-business. I'm for the military. I'm for the veterans. I'm for the police and fire. My life and business experience alone better qualifies me, gives me the skill set needed to be your next county judge. My opponent has spent his entire short career in the shadows of politicians. I am you. As of today, since I decided to run for county judge in August of this past year, I've attended 41 out of 47 meetings of the Wichita County Commissioner's Court. I know what is going on currently in the Commissioner's Court, and I ask you to remember during this debate who has been at these meetings and who has not. No, I'm not a politician. I am you, the voter, and I represent you, the citizens of Wichita County, who deserve a county judge who knows more tonight by being a business owner, attending those commissioners' court meetings, and bringing my 40-plus years of experience on day one. I'm going to be second on the ballot and ready to go to work for you on day one. I'm Rick Hatcher with a mission to work 24/7 for the citizens of Wichita County.
Okay, gentlemen, look, as COVID-19 has dominated all of our lives, all over America, and right here at home in Wichita County over the past 2 years, it's a perfect place to begin this evening with COVID-19. Mr. Johnson, you won the coin toss. You also get the first question. Looking back at lockdowns and businesses forced to close in the initial parts of the pandemic and seeing case and death numbers in just the past couple of months eclipse those numbers we saw in the beginning, were those orders here locally a mistake? Did they do any good here locally?
So thank you for the question, Daryl. I think that first of all, hindsight is 20/20, and it is. I think it would be presumptuous of us to say that we know better now, and we would have made decisions differently if we hadn't known what we know now. With that said, I was troubled at the time, and I think in hindsight, even more troubled at the decision to separate businesses into essential and non-essential. I believe that to everybody who works at a business or who gets a paycheck from a business, who owns a business and operates it, they're essential. And so I think that the decision to do that early on was misplaced and did not help with the COVID numbers and keeping things under control. So I do think that in hindsight was a mistake. I'll also say this, government should be humble in what it does. It's the responsibility of anybody who's in a position of making a decision to realize the impacts of those decisions and to realize that individuals know more about their own circumstances than someone else ever could. And so I think it's important as we move forward to remember that and to make decisions based on the fact that you know more about your life and the decisions you need to make to keep yourself safe than someone in government ever could.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher, same question to you. Were those orders given in the beginning of the pandemic here locally a mistake? Do you believe they did any good?
Well, I can't say that they really did any good. If we knew back then what we know now, as you had mentioned, I think that different decisions would have been made. But if you put yourself back in that time, and we didn't know what we had, we didn't know what we were facing, and so I think the decisions that were made, I say this all the time, I think the Florida Governor DeSantis and Greg Abbott in Texas did the best that anyone could have done to deal with this virus, knowing what they knew then and not knowing what they didn't know then. I am against the mask mandates that we had to do. It's been proven later on that wasn't really the thing to do, but you know, my business was deemed as essential, and because we delivered food and whatnot, and it's not right to pick and choose losers, winners and losers in this whole thing. And so I think that every business is essential, and you know, it was an unfortunate deal. I will say this, I really hope and pray that every subsequent variant that we experience of this virus will be less brutal, and this thing will become a common cold, and we'll just move on in life and deal with it. We have to live our lives.
I think we can all agree on that for sure. Yeah. So, Mr. Hatcher, you have the next question, and you've already spoken a little toward what you think of the governor's handling of the pandemic overall. If you were to give the governor a grade, what would you give him? And also, what is your assessment of his handling of the pandemic overall?
I think I would give him probably an A-, and the minus only goes because, like I said, he was dealing with a lot of things that he didn't know, and I think that, you know, like I said, if you don't know what you're dealing with, you deal with what's given to you. You know, in business, I face daily things that come up, and you have to make those decisions. You have to know what you're going to do at any drop of a hat moment. The county judge position, which is what we're really here to talk about, you know, you're going to be in charge of dealing with emergency management and those sort of things. And if we have a natural disaster, God help us, or a big fire or any sort of thing like that, you know, we've got to be ready for that. And I'm all about trying to be prepared, and I want to make sure that we're doing all those preparation drills and all that, and also that we include the outlying volunteer fire departments, the rural fire departments. Can you believe that fire situation we had in Electra just recently? And it is unbelievable. I've been out there and looked at the burn marks and stuff, and our local rural fire departments did a tremendous job out there preventing that from taking the loss of a lot of property out that way. So, you know, Governor did a great job. He was either first or second in the country, for sure, in dealing with the virus and making those decisions.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
I think that the governor also did a good job. An A- sounds about right. I think that early on, tried to make a measured response, especially when we didn't know a lot. Those first, it's funny to remember now, not funny, but those first 60 to 90 days, we didn't know much, and so everyone was kind of driving through a fog, trying to make the decisions the best they could. The only place I think we could have improved, I do think it would have been better to get the legislature involved sooner, whether it's through calling a special session or to bring some of them back for discussions. All too often, we get in a bubble where we're listening to one set of opinions, or we're focused too much on one aspect of it. Throughout COVID, I feel like we did that too much, where we listened solely to public health authorities without taking into account the broader questions and the broader impacts that these decisions would have. You have to include the economic impact. You have to include the mental health impact. You have to include the impact on school children. And I think that especially early on, we looked at just one piece of the puzzle. So I'd give him an A- and hope that next time we'll have everybody in the room a little earlier.
Okay, that brings us to our first break coming up, and we're going to hear much more from these candidates when we come back, including about veteran support, also county budgets. So stick around for that. Welcome back to the Republican primary debate for Wichita County Judge. This next question was sent in from a viewer, a veteran who wants to know, how will you work with our many local support agencies for veterans like Shepherd Air Force Base, the DAV, VFW, and the VA Clinic to ensure the county gives the best possible support to veterans and also their families? And Mr. Hatcher, will begin with you.
Very good, thank you. You know, first of all, we absolutely, in this community, we owe insurmountable, unbelievable amount of love to our veterans. Shepherd Air Force Base, if it goes away, we are so going away. We have to protect that relationship. Our veterans have gone out, done the hard stuff, and they come back, and sometimes, you know, they need these services. They need a good hospital to go to. They need to be able to be taken care of. The vets are dear to me, and I think that you just, these services are out there, and the county has to support them, and it's the right thing to do. And our military and our veterans, it's one reason that we're free in this country. I've spent some time on the city council, and during that time especially, I had a lot of time to interact with our veterans and meet with several of them. And I'm ready to go out and see what it is that they need, that we can do for them that we're not doing, and let's just make sure that we take care of them, plain and simple.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
So it's a great question. I'm so proud of the relationship that our community here in Wichita Falls and across the county has with the military, active duty, and its relationship with Shepherd. It is clear, and people from the outside talk about it, how much our community supports and loves our military base and our airmen and airwomen that are there. Part of that is also an appreciation for our veterans. I love the fact that we are a community that draws military retirees to our community. They like to retire here. And so as far as making sure that the county gets the resources that are necessary to our veteran service organizations, this is where relationships matter. In my time working at the state level, developed a network of folks, both here locally, but also all the way to Austin, that I think will come in handy when you need to pick up the phone and call to get information about some resources that are available, grant programs that are available. those relationships and being able to pick up the phone, I think, will be a huge benefit to the citizens of Wichita County, something that I bring to this race.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, this question to you first. Have you spent any time looking in depth into the county budget? And if so, have you found any areas you think are not being budgeted efficiently? Do you think that some of those expenditures could be cut?
I have spent time looking into the county budget, had conversations with current commissioners, had conversations for a long time with our county judge and other county judges across the area. As far as specific things that could be cut now, I think that what we need to look at moving forward is how we can change budget processes to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck. We have the opportunity, anytime you get new leadership, and we're going to have new county judge for the first time in over 2 decades, anytime you get new leadership, you have the chance to take a look at things and see what you're doing well, what you could stand to improve, and how you could be better. And I think everybody would agree we can always get better. I would like for us to come in day one, work with the commissioners, work with the department heads, and to look at the budget and to ask 3 questions. Number 1, are we required to do this by law? Number 2, is this actually serving constituents? And number 3, can we do this better? And based on the answers that we get, I think that we can move forward and figure out if we need to redirect resources to other programs that are better serving constituents, or if we have room to cut and to reduce taxes and help return that money back to the taxpayers.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher.
Well, as far as the budgets go, that's the big thing for the Commissioners Court is, take care of the budgets and get the money where it needs to be. And, you got several different areas within the county that each have their own budget. I think we're probably doing a good job right now. And I have visited with all the commissioners and also with the county judge. And, when the time comes to work the budgets, we're going to look at each budget and we're going to try to see if there's anything that's not working well within that budget, if we're overpaying for something. My job is going to be to get the biggest bang for our buck that's humanly possible. If there is a way to cut the tax rate, we will find a way to cut the tax rate while still providing the necessary services and taking care of our employees as we need to do. I will go in and I'll work very closely with the auditor. The county auditor's office does the budget in coordination with the county judge, and I've visited with them and we'll continue to visit with them and ask the questions, and we'll go in on day one and take a deep dive into those budgets, and let's just make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be as efficient with the taxpayers' money.
Well, do you believe that the county commissioners are doing enough to maintain bridges and roads throughout the county? And do you believe that there's enough money allocated for that?
I'm pretty sure that they're doing a good job, Daryl. They're supposed to be divided into 4 even parts, 4 equal parts as far as that goes on how their money comes in. But some precincts are going to have more bridges than others and more roads that are troublesome or whatever. So it's not always going to be exactly right, but really what you want to do is you want your precinct to not spend more than what they're able to bring in because of the revenue for that particular precinct. So maybe that happens sometimes, but if it does, it's usually because of something like a bridge problem, and maybe, like I said, they don't have as many bridges or more so than the next precinct or whatever. But I visit with them all the time. I'm friends with all the current commissioners, known a bunch of them, well, actually known all of them for a really long time, known the judge for a long time. I'm just ready to get in there and do this thing. I mean, it's a business. It really has to be looked at like a business, and I can't say it enough that you need to look at this, and you need to realize when you're in business, you're spending your own money. When you're a politician, you're spending other people's money. So when you have the opportunity to go and be a politician, I'm not a politician, but you have the opportunity to do that after being a business person, you look at it with different eyes, and you're spending other people's money. Very important, very important.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, you have the floor.
Yeah, when most people here think county government and they think core functions of government, roads and bridges is going to come up number 1 or number 2, probably interchanged with the jail and law enforcement and safety. So I think that the answer to your question, yeah, I think that they are looking at that and doing a good job of maintaining roads and bridges. And it's been my experience that if there is a place where we're being deficient, people will let you know, and they'll let you know quickly, and they'll let you know loudly. And so I do. I look forward to, this is why I talked about just a second ago, making sure that we're focused on core functions. That is a core function. When we're doing things that we don't need to do, and that's redirecting resources, whether it's money or honestly time of county employees or time for the commissioners or other elected officials, when we're rediverting those resources to core functions, that hurts the people that rely on those roads and bridges to be kept up. So I will also work with them to make sure that we're getting needs met for our county residents. Okay,
first question here goes back to you, Mr. Johnson. If you were to pinpoint one thing that you believe the county commissioner's court could do better, what would that be? Where could they improve?
So I think there's one thing that we could do fairly quickly, fairly easily, but it would take a while to make a difference. I think we could do a better job of communicating with county residents on what's going on with their county government. I think that there are a lot of people who feel either intimidated or feel unable to know what's going on with their county government and then to offer solutions for problems that they see. What I would love to do, and what I plan on doing, is opening up those lines of communication. Let's have town halls out across the county. Let's have more commissioners' meetings outside of normal business hours so working people can attend them. Let's do the job of inviting people in to know what's going on with their local government. Because I truly feel that the best resource that we have in this county is the people who live here. We have a lot of people who I think have great ideas. They see the problems on the ground. They have ideas for solutions. And in a large degree, I think they're just waiting on someone to reach out and to help them understand how to make a change for the better.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher.
Well, you know, when I spent all that time on the city council, we had that same idea about moving some meetings out, having them at night and those sort of things. We did that for a while. We did town halls around, and it was a great thing to do, but, you know, there's apathy like you would not believe. You do that, you bring your whole staff, you bring them out after hours and all that. I think the better idea is maybe have a couple of meetings periodically that are still in the same area where we have them at the courthouse, but do them in the evening, just so that other people can show up. You know, I've been to 41 out of 47 Commissioners Court meetings since August the 2nd, and there's hardly ever anybody there. There's really not much public that ever shows up at those meetings. And that hurts me a little bit because, I mean, to me, I'm passionate about this stuff. And I would just expect that there would just be people, you know, showing up to hear this, but it's really not well attended. So on to that, you know, maybe they'll be well attended. I'd be for that, you know, having the meetings out. The key thing is obviously communication, without a doubt. What I'm going to do on day one is I'm going to send out a memo to every single working person that gets a county paycheck, and I'm going to say, let me know what we do well, and let me know if there's anything that we don't do well. You don't even have to sign it. I don't want to know who said it. I just want to know. I want to get a feel for what we have, what we're doing wrong. Let's get in there and let's fix these things.
Okay, we're going to work in a quick break here. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Republican debate for Wichita County Judge. Let's get right to the questions. This question goes straight to Rick Hatcher. What do each of you believe should be the main focus of Wichita County Judge? And if you're elected, what might you do differently than your predecessor, Wichita County Judge Woody Gossam?
Well, I will tell you this. I'm going to be ready to go, excuse me, ready to go on day one because of all those meetings that I've been going to. But I'll tell you that, you know, the county judge is going to have to work very well with the 4 elected commissioners. And like I mentioned before, I know them all very well. You're going to preside over the Commissioner's Court, set the tax rate, try to lower it if we can. You got to know the laws and stay within the laws. That's always a big deal. But, of course, that would be the reason why the district attorney chief in the civil side is at every meeting, is to make sure that we're staying where we're supposed to go. We want to make sure that we support Sheriff Duke and his team in the sheriff's office and get them everything that they need to get their stuff done. You know, we have to make sure that the citizens feel safe. You know, when they're out in the community, if they're driving down a road that's torn up, you know, they need to feel safe. If you've got roads that need repair. And I was at a meeting recently where they were talking about Wellington Lane, and hello everyone that lives on Wellington Lane. I think that that's something in the future that's going to happen. It's going to get some repair that really needs it. So just watch those budgets and let's make it work.
Same question to you, Mr. Johnson. What should be the focus of Wichita County Judge? Would you do anything differently than your predecessor, Judge Gossam?
So the focus of the county judge, since the job is primarily an administrative one, first of all, is going to be to make sure that we're doing what we have to do. The budget, obviously, is number one. People know very much about their tax rate. They know how much they're paying in taxes, and that's a budget question. And so the first thing that the county judge has to do is make sure that the budget is kept as on point and as focused as possible. As far as things to do differently, I think that everyone would say that we can always do things better. It doesn't mean that the predecessor was doing things poorly, or just every time you get a new leadership in, you've got the chance to do things differently. One thing that I'm excited about doing is looking at unfunded mandates. These are when federal government or state government passes new laws or makes new regulations, they send them down to the county and don't send any money with it to make them do new things. I think I'm in a unique position to be able to dig into the budget, dig into it with the department heads, and again, ask those questions. Are we doing this because it's required by law? And is it serving constituents? If the answer to the first one is yes, it's the law, and the answer to the second is no, it's not serving our constituents, give me that information so then I can get it to people in Austin or in Washington, D.C. to make positive change, to get those burdens off our backs so that we can redirect those resources to take care of our constituents.
Okay. Judge Gossam served as Wichita County Commissioner, Precinct 1 for over 9 years before he ran for county judge. Do you believe that it would have been an advantage to you to have served on the Commissioner's Court before running for county judge? You'll have the same question in just a bit, Mr. Hatcher. Mr. Johnson?
I think that any experience that you have is going to be positive, and sitting on the court and being a part of that process before you become county judge certainly be beneficial, but it's not the only consideration. We all bring different skill sets and experience to the table when we take on the job. And so the answer to your question is yes, I think it would be beneficial, but I've had an experience that will be beneficial to being county judge. Working at the state level, at the federal level, after working in the private sector, those are experiences, and you build up relationships, you build up networks, you build up a knowledge base on these issues that lets you see a little bit of the broader picture. Whether it's property taxes or elections oversight, having that experience expands your horizons. You get the opportunity to hear what's going on in other counties, what they're seeing that's successful, what they're seeing that fails, and it helps you understand the broader picture better. I believe I bring that experience to the table, and that's a good place to jump from into the county judge role.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher.
Well, you know, I spent quite a bit of time on the City Council of Wichita Falls, and that prepares me for a little bit, but I will tell you, being at 41 out of 47 Commissioners Court meetings since August the 2nd really gives me an insight on a lot of things, and I know what's going on right now. You know, I would say my opponent here might not really know that the county is having trouble getting bids for the 5/8 inch gravel that's used to repair roads, because that's a product that doesn't seem to be too available right now, and they've had to rebid it several times. He might not know that just about a week ago an inmate took a hard plastic cup and threw it really hard at one of those unbreakable windows in the new law enforcement center and cracked it. He probably wouldn't know that, and he may not know that they had to do some extra soundproofing to one of the doors to one of the interrogation rooms out there to make it, you know, proper to be heard. Goodness, there's a thing called a muffin monster. We don't want to go into that too much, but I'll bet you that he probably doesn't know about that. I'm going to be ready to go on day one, and whether or not I served on the Commissioner's Court, I did look at that for several years and thought about doing it, and had plans to do it, and it just so happened that this deal came about in the way that it did. And this is the perfect fit for me and what I know and my business experience and my background.
All right, Mr. Johnson, you have 1 minute for rebuttal here as far as the allegations to your possible lack of knowledge.
Well, I would offer this. Election is happening on February 14th. We've got a March 1st election date for the primary. General election happens in November. We start the roll next January. Been working around issues for a long time. The ability to talk to our commissioners, talk to our sheriff, talk to our department heads, know what's going on, and ask them for specifics, and then to make good decisions is not something just about the issue knowledge right then and there. You've got to have a framework from which to work to improve things. You have to be able to take the issues that are coming up and work with them so that you can actually you can make better decisions in the long run.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher, when Judge Gossom's term is up on December 31st, he will have been in office for 24 years.
That's right.
Do you think it's a good idea to have a county judge serve that many years? And if elected, how many years might you serve?
Well, you know, I would not be opposed to having some term limits on almost every elected office in the country. You get this problem in Washington, D.C. especially, but, you know, I will promise you this, I have absolutely no plans to be the county judge for 24 years, and I will guarantee you that about 2 terms or 3 maybe, and you're going to be done with me. If that answers your question, and if it doesn't, I'll rephrase or whatever. But I think that you know, I'm ready to do this. I'm prepared to do this. This is something that I've thought about for a really, really long time. I've prayed about it. The knowledge that I didn't possess when I first started into this, and some of it I still don't have, to be honest. But as I go through, I will acquire this knowledge, and then I will pray for the wisdom to act on this knowledge appropriately for the citizens of Wichita County.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Ultimate accountability rests with the voters. Judge Gossom was reelected 6 times, or 5 times. This is the end of his 6th term. Term limits, I'm in favor of term limits to some degree, though there is an expertise that comes the longer you're in a position. And I think that if you are doing a good job and the voters keep sending you back, then that's a good thing. This feeds back into that communication point I made earlier. If we have an involved and an informed local electorate, then we don't need to worry about this as much, because they will make their voice heard. People, if they're unhappy with the folks in office, they will run, and the voters will have their voice be heard. So I think that that's the ultimate answer here, is that we have local accountability, and it's in the hands of the voters.
Okay, time down for another break. Stay with us. Much, much more when we come back. Welcome back to the Republican debate for Wichita County Judge. We're going to start with Mr. Johnson first. What do you believe is the best use of space for the available space where the Wichita County Jail has sat for so many years? And what are the most critical needs for the courthouse and also facility needs that you see are coming up over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think the best space for that, for the jail that is unused right now, I don't have an automatic answer to that. I think that it's going to be important to make sure that we get a broad spectrum of ideas on that. Again, I go back to the public input. This is where that would be helpful. I also think that it's going to be important to consult the sheriff, other county commissioners, see what our needs are right now in the courthouse, to see if that is a space that we could use for our own needs, or maybe if we should offer it up for a bid for someone else to come in and use it. And then I think the other question was, what was the other question?
Other facility needs that you see throughout the county over the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, thankfully the biggest one was the Law Enforcement Center, and we took care of that when the voters approved the bond, and it's a beautiful facility, and it's got room to grow, and I think it will be an asset for our county for a long time moving forward. We have some repairs that are needed at the courthouse. They're already doing them on the north side of the courthouse right now, and some renovation work. I've heard a lot from folks that our IT system and how we handle the court docket and the way that we manage our our courtrooms and that system could stand to see some improvements. And since one of the requirements in state law for the counties is to the efficient management of the court docket, we need to make sure that we do that, and I think that's an obvious need here at the beginning.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher.
So the question was, I didn't...
As far as what do you see would be the best use of that space for the Wichita County Jail, the old Wichita County Jail, also other facility needs that you see coming up maybe over the next 5 to 10 years?
Very good. First of all, the Law Enforcement Center is awesome. I had the opportunity to tour that thing about 10 days before they populated it, and it's very awesome. I'm not sure if my opponent was able to go through there, but I would encourage anybody that has an opportunity to go through and look at that. So the 4th floor former jail area, I happen to know a little bit about that because I've, of course, been at those meetings and been paying attention, but there is a plan for that. It's getting a lot of work right now done to it, and they are ripping out stuff. They've cut steel till they're blue in the face, I'm sure, and it is really nice. I've got to go up there and look at it, and it's impressive that all that's been up there. I know that spot back in 2001 when I first went through leadership Wichita Falls, that thing had just failed 2 consecutive state jail inspections, and so it was good that we got rid of that thing and got the new Law Enforcement Center. The things that are already on the books, that are already going, that are going to take place, they're all things that we've needed forever. He mentioned the technology upgrades. Judge Butler the other day came in and talked at the Commissioners Court meeting about all 6 of the courtrooms getting really nice upgrades on the technology side to help us be where we need to be.
You know, some restoration efforts are underway right now on part of the exterior of the Wichita County Courthouse. Do you believe that returning it to its former glory would be a good thing to do more with the courthouse and do that as well? Or do you think maybe it would be better to spend that money on a new facility in the future?
Is that question
That's
for me?
a question for you, Mr.
Gosh,
Hatcher.
man, you know, Daryl, that facility will never get to go back and be the grandeur facility, the beautiful courthouse that it was. They took care of that in 1961 when they modernized our courthouse, and so but the things that are being done now are going. That's a great building, by the way, and inside the guts is still an awesome building. We're going to be fine in that courthouse. These updates that we're making now, they wouldn't do these if there was any immediate plan to go build a new courthouse. We're in good shape with that courthouse, and the things we're doing inside of it are bringing it up to modernize the inside enough that it will be perfect for what we need to do.
Do you believe, Mr. Johnson, that money would be better spent on a new facility?
Well, first of all, I would love to restore it to its former glory. Doing a project like that, though, would require a large buy-in from the public, from the voters, because of the amount of money involved. This is one of the reasons why I felt called to run for county judge, was at all levels of government, with large institutions right now, there's a distinct lack of trust. People don't trust each other. They don't trust their government at any level. And so I felt that rather than complain about that or just sit on the sidelines, it was my job to get out here as a new generation, to run for office, and then if elected, to rebuild that trust one small decision at a time, doing what you say you're going to do, and then being transparent with how you get to decisions. If we are going to do big projects like that, it's going to require rebuilding that trust in people, and that's just one small thing at a time.
Okay, this next question to you first, Mr. Johnson. You know, every year many Texans complain about rising property taxes and how property owners, well, they carry an unfair share. What do you think, if anything, can be done to reduce the burden on these taxpayers?
Well, there's always 2 pieces to the taxpayer puzzle here. There's your rates, and then there is your appraisal value. We have had the mixed blessing of recently rising appraisal values around here. It's great if you're trying to sell your house. It's not great when you're trying to pay taxes on it. The court has to be diligent about keeping in check with, as appraisal values go up, we need to make sure we have the option to bring down rates to make sure that they don't become burdensome on taxpayers. Right now, we're going through a period of really sky-high inflation. That, unfortunately, hits everybody at the same time. It's more expensive for government to make the purchases it needs to do to provide those core services. At the same time, it's more expensive for each individual who is having to go and buy groceries and buy gas to put in their vehicle. We can't put more of a burden on taxpayers to answer the inflation problem and raise their taxes when they're already under it. So ultimately, the court has to be diligent as far as making sure it can lower rates if appraisal values get too high.
Okay, Mr. Hatcher.
We want to operate as efficiently as we can and be the best stewards of the taxpayers' money, Darrell, that we can possibly be. We want to find those efficiencies. If they're there, government at all levels to a certain degree is inefficient. We all know that. I don't know how much efficiency we can find, but you know what? We will work day and night 24/7 to find the efficiencies that can be there to keep the tax rate no higher than it is and hopefully lower it. And he's right about the inflation. That is touching everybody and every single thing that we do. And that's probably one of those reasons that the 5/8 inch aggregate rock that they tried to bid, very critical to doing the road repairs. They can't get the bid on it anywhere near where they need it to be. That's pretty important when you start trying to run a budget, and budgets are critical. It really is.
Okay, this next question to you, Mr. Hatcher, first. You know, in the last budget session, there was some disagreement on what was more important, a pay raise for county employees or avoiding a tax hike. A department head said at that time that Wichita County had fallen from being somewhere in the middle when compared to counties of similar size, had fallen down to the bottom. So would you support a pay raise for county employees over the next 4 years? Would you support that if it meant raising taxes?
Well, I would say that our employees are critical to the operation of the county without a doubt. You know, you have to live within your means, whether you're an individual or whether you're a county or a government or whatever. Our problem is that Wichita County, especially Wichita Falls, is just not growing. We need to increase the tax base in this area, and we've got to do it, I think, by bringing in the next PPG, bringing in the next certainty. Those were high-paying jobs, and we've got people just like we always have, and they get out of school and they want to leave town. They want to get out of here as quick as they can. Maybe some of them want to go to Austin, but we need to have the tax base broadened in this area. That's the magic bullet. The magic bullet that makes everything work is having a bigger tax base. And yes, we want to do everything that we need to do. We want to make it right for everybody and fair for everybody, but we have to live within our means. I'm sure we're going to take care of our people because that's the lifeblood of the county, the people that do the actual work. But let's all get in the same boat and be cheerleaders for the county, and let's see what we can do to get that tax base broadened out some.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Do you mind repeating the question?
Sure. Would you support a pay raise for county employees if it meant there would be a tax hike to make it happen?
There are a lot of components that go into the pay package for our county employees. There's the cost of health insurance and what those benefits are. There's the retirement package. And then there's the actual wages that they're receiving. I think that we, as a county, it's my vision that we would be known as a county that has excellent customer service and how it responds to constituents. Part of that is going to be having employees at the courthouse and across the county who love what they do and are well compensated for it. I brought up earlier, this is all a budget question. When I brought up the question earlier of, is this required by law? Is it serving constituents, and are we doing it well? Part of the reason we need to do that type of question and look at it is, if we're not going to have the magic bullet that increases our tax base, we're going to have to figure out how to keep our county employees paid similarly to other counties, or we're going to lose good employees. So short of that, we need to be making sure that if we've got places in our budget that we can redirect to take care of our county employees so that they can do the work of serving constituents, let's do it.
All right, let's go ahead and slip in another break. We're getting much closer now to closing statements. You'll want to stick around for that. We'll be right back. it is time now for closing statements in our debate for Wichita County Judge before the Republican primary. Now, Mr. Johnson went first off the top of this debate. So, Mr. Hatcher, you have the floor. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you, Darrell. I want to thank each of you for watching this debate tonight. And that means that you really care about making the right choice. You know, county business is real business. I hold up these agendas of every meeting of the Wichita County Commissioners Court, 41 out of 47, rather. Since August, this has been my top priority. I currently know exactly what is going on. Friends, I don't need a list of endorsements. My endorsements are going to be your votes. My opponent will show you a list of mostly blind endorsements given at the insistence of his current boss. Now, viewers, let me tell you, I'm not a politician. I am not Austin, Texas. I am Wichita County. No political back and forth here. I'm a born and raised Wichita County business owner. I can reach out to Ronnie Jackson, Drew Springer, Charles Perry, James Frank, Mayor Stephen if I need to at a moment's notice. I close by asking my opponent, with all sincere due respect, sir, where have you been every Monday and Friday since August the 2nd? The Wichita County Commissioners Court have had their meetings without you. I believe in diving into the Commissioners Court with 41 meetings shows my commitment to the job and that I'm ready on day one. I'm Rick Hatcher, second on the ballot. Early voting starts Monday, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you again to everyone who's taken the time, an hour out of your busy schedule, to watch and make an informed decision. I am proud of who I am. I am proud of my career in public service. I am proud that I went and met with the Wichita Falls Association of Realtors, as did my opponent. We talked about a vision we brought to the job, our skill set, our experience. They endorsed me. I'm proud of the fact that I went and met with the Wichita Falls Police Officers Association. So did my opponent. I'm proud to say that after meeting with both of us, they endorsed me. I'm proud that men that I've worked with for a long time at the state legislature, Senator Perry, Senator Springer, Representative Frank, and Congressman Jackson in Washington, have all endorsed me. I think it's interesting that my opponent chose to use half of his closing statement to talk about me rather than his vision. I think that you should ask, who can best bring new ideas to the table? I've established a network of relationships in all sorts of different policy areas, from Wichita County across the state to Austin. Having other laboratories and knowing people that are seeing other things happening helps us be a better county. I want you to ask yourself, who has the best vision for our area and for the job? I have a vision that we be known as the county with excellent customer service and where residents are informed and involved in local government. We need a county judge who has a vision to spread that message to others and a skill set to work with others to make us better. I will be that county judge. Thank you for watching, and I would sincerely appreciate your vote.
Okay, now, as a reminder, if you're watching at home, you heard just a little bit earlier about what's coming up. Early voting, it begins Monday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. It's going to go through the 25th, and the last day to apply for a ballot by mail is February 18th. The state's primary, the big primary election, is coming up March 1st. Thank you to both of you candidates for coming out here this evening. And thank all of you for watching so much. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I think we did. Stay with us. KFDX 3 News at 6 is coming up next.